This is Gene Adam, former lead singer of Iced Earth. Be sure to subscribe to Podcast and Stone, and don't forget, join our community on social media. Metal lives.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Iced Earth community, welcome to Podcast in Stone, the only podcast 100% dedicated to iced motherfucking Earth. I am Jason No Beard, and I am joined, as always, with someone that also has no beard, the incomparable Chuck Hoskins. Today, we are going to be talking about Jon Schaffer's solo exploration into politics with the album Sons of Liberty, Brushfires of the Mind. Chuck, how are you doing today?
Good, it's good to do an episode so close together. We kind of were doing one and taking a hiatus, but I feel kind of rejuvenated now. You know, we've already discussed the Pyramaze album is coming up. We've got Witherfall, all kinds of stuff coming on. Third Demons. It's a cool time to be a fan. It's a cool time to deep dive into some of these albums.
And you finally got those two Into Eternity albums of Stu Block, haven't you, Chuck?
I ordered them today.
Fantastic records.
Today, so I should have within a week. So I can't wait to dive into those. So we've got plenty of if you're worried about us not having stuff to talk about, we've got years worth. And also, definitely. I mean, it's going to be probably uneventful by the time this airs, but Jon Schaffer has a big Q&A coming up on Tuesday. So I'm anxious to see if any news or tidbits is going to come of that little Q&A session. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. Are you going to try to stay up for it or just catch the aftermath?
No, I'll be working, man. I can't do it. Like, what time is it?
It'll be 11 your time.
Yeah.
PM.
I get up at 5, so that's like my bedtime. So, unfortunately, the curse of
anything
different
big,
time
it'll
zones.
be all over the official Podcast and Stone Facebook page. Us diehards will be sitting there writing, "Oh my God, did you just hear that?" and whatnot.
At least I have stuff to wake up to, eh? At least I have
That's always good news.
I might have some bite-sized stuff to wake up to. Anyway, Chuck, today we're going to be talking about, Sons of Liberty, the first album, Brushfires of the Mind. I'm going to let you take the floor. Overall thoughts. How do you feel about this record?
Well, I remember hearing about this, and I'm trying to think of. It came out in 2009. I'm trying to think if I had a computer at my house. I might not have had regular access to the internet at that point. I remember hearing about it, either whether it's through a magazine or the internet, and of course I had to go get it. And I went to the record store and got it, and immediately. It unfortunately, with me being a huge Mega Ice fan, a lot of these side projects, I'm bad about focusing on Ice. Like the Demons, the first two Demons, I just kind of, they're Jon's, I buy them and I put them to the side. And unfortunately, this one was in that same group. I support Jon with anything he does. I bought it, kind of listened to it a couple times over the years. If it came on my iPod random, I'd listen to it, but I'd never say, man, tonight I'm going to listen to Brushfires. So this week I deep dived it, and there's some really good tracks on here, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about it. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat where it's just like, Jon Schaffer's on that, I need to buy it. I didn't really know nothing about it, and so I didn't realise how politically charged it is, which it is. That's a fact, right? You can't deny that. It's very politically charged, which I'm not a very political person at all, so it's kind of like that side of it, kind of like I kind of ignore that side of it and focus on the music. Like you said, I buy it because it's got Jon Schaffer, but it usually would kind of just be shelved, and I may have listened to it twice since it came out. because it came out. I mean, it must have came out like 2 months after Crucible Man, 2009, and I was all on Iced Earth that year because Matt came back, and so for something of Jon Schaffer's to come out after his big band, and it's just like this little political side project, it kind of like, I wasn't really caring. I was all about Iced Earth for that kind of year. So, but I think I've listened to it like twice. Well, a bit more now. I've kind of deep dived for this review. But yeah, before this review, I must have listened to it once or twice over the years. And the only song that I really remembered when I listened back to it for this review was Jekyll Island. But yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, I'm very happy that I took the time to jump into it again, because there's some very, very, very good songs on this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad I took the time, and I encourage anybody that, if there's an album, whether it be, Framing or whatever, as an album that you just don't listen to, deep dive it for a week, and then you might find 3 or 4 songs that you really, really like.
Can I bring up a quick question before we dive into like track by track and stuff? When it comes to like music, and if that music's got a specific like deep rooted theme, like very kind of very divisive themes, like politics, like religion, etc., is that something that turns you away from music?
There's only a couple bands that I listen to that are political. I know Megadeth, as they got older, they throw in a lot of those, like Washington's is Next, and they're a lot more politically driven than they used to be. You kind of mentioned before, I'm not a political news person. I use music as my escape from that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want, and I even thought about this while I was doing my notes for this. I wonder how this epidemic that's going on right now will affect future songs. I mean, is the next Megadeth and next whatever album, are they all going to be, plague, quarantine kind of, I'm curious to see how that affects it. But to answer your question, I mean, as a teenager, I liked Stryper, and they were a religious band, and I did,
Yeah.
And then, I listened to some Slayer, and they're a little bit more evil themes. And I'm more of a music person, and I would never turn away from a song because it's political, but that's not oh my gosh, I want to march with John. and no offense to anybody that has done that. And I've talked to people who, have the flags and whatever. It's just not me. I mean,
yeah, that's cool.
I remember my dad took some pictures on a trip, and he's like, "Did you see my pictures on Facebook?" And I'm like, "No, I unfollowed you because all you put on there is Trump stuff." He's like, "Oh, So anyway, it's not a deterrent, but it's not appealing to me. I don't want John to write 2 more political albums. And if that's your thing, I get it. It's just not my thing.
My opinion on this matter is, I think there's a big difference between being inspired by, and then big difference between being inspired by and being preached to. So, for example, I remember I put on John Greedy's 7/7 EP to a friend, because I was like, "Mate, you got to listen to this. It's fantastic." And as soon as he kind of noticed the whole very religious kind of inspirations on that record, it's highly inspired by Christianity, right, in the Bible and whatnot.
Absolutely.
As soon as my friend kind of just took the whiff of that, he was like, "Don't care, turn it off," like immediately. And I'm just like, I try to separate those things and try to enjoy the music for what it is. And that's what I think, like I said, there's a difference between being inspired by it and being preached to. You can have a political album that is just straight up preaching to people, going, "Oh, you should do this, you should do this." Or you have religious records that are preaching their religion. rather than like a band Powerwolf. They're a religious band, but they're inspired by the religion that they follow rather than trying to preach it. And that's what makes them a very, very entertaining band to listen to, because it empowers the music, right? Inspiration empowers music. That's what it does. So I think there's a big divide there.
With the Christianity, there's different types. You've got ones where they're like, it's very Christian-y. You got, Jesus in the lyrics and stuff, and then you've got ones like Striper that I grew up on, where it's talking about love, where it's like, are they talking about God, or are they talking? It could be about a woman.
Yeah.
It's not. And then you've got stuff like Jacob's Well that is spiritual but not over preachy. It's positive. So I mean, there's different levels of that, and I think that maybe this was John's way to get all of this out on this platform, so that it wouldn't have to be brought to the Iced Earth stage.
I think it's in some of Iced Earth stuff, but I think it's very subtle. For example, I generally believe that Seven-Headed Whore is a very politically charged song. If you really cut deep into those lyrics, there's very much a political message in that, in my opinion. But like I said, it's subtle. It's not obvious, which is good.
It's not about a promiscuous woman with 7 heads.
No. Well, it could be. If that's how you interpret it, then that's
But
cool.
then I got to listen to the lyrics tonight. And and politics-wise, that's one thing that me and you have decided. We've been lucky enough to sit down with John for about 6 hours, and that's something we have not got into. That's something we just want to leave separate from the group. And there's nothing wrong with,
I think if we did get into it, we would need several days in that conversation.
Or we'd only get 2 questions in.
Yeah.
So, John, how did you feel about the election? All right, that's all the time we got today.
Yeah, thanks for your questions, everybody. See you later.
And I'm not downing him. That he's very passionate about everything he does, and that's, if you're watching this, you love that about John.
Yeah, definitely.
Just something I don't tackle with him. I've never discussed it with him. I'm more of a music person. Music is my escape from that. But I am curious to see where metal's going to go from here, as far as lyrics and somebody's bound to touch it.
I suppose, but I don't know really what they can really do, because this is not the first time we've had this kind of situation. I think this is the biggest scale we've had it, but we've had.
It's the first time that the government's been involved, and you're isolated, and they're telling you what to do, and if you're important enough to work. That's the metal song right there. Isolated. And turn now and isolate. I think I seen somebody had a picture of Matt Barlow, and said something about isolate.
Yeah. That meme, yeah. I saw that. Yeah, there's a lot of memes. There's a lot of jokes. There's a lot of just a lot of things coming out from this. Like, I just got to bring this up because I thought it's funny. Do you know where people like panic buying, and they're buying all the toilet paper up, right? I saw this meme. Do you know Commando, John Matrix? He's got the big rocket launcher.
Yeah,
he's got loads of toilet papers. He's like, get to the shitter. It's great. I loved it. Anyway, Sons of Liberty, Brushfires of the Mind Chuck.
It came out in 2009, and we're not going to go into the Wikipedia on it, but Troy did play a few solos on this.
Yep.
As did Jim Morris, who has been on more Iced Earth albums than anybody but John himself. And if I read this correctly, did they use a drum machine for that?
Yeah, there's no real drummer on this record.
No real drummer.
Which is a shame, because I think they could have, not that I really noticed, but I reckon a real drummer can always give a bit of more of a humanity to a record.
So yeah, 2009, Brushfire of the Mind. Like you said, this is off the heels of Crucible. Yeah. So I always like to these side projects, I like to see where they're at squeezed in the catalog, just to kind of see, where he's at songwriting wise. I wonder if you said it was pretty much after Crucible came out, so Matt was still solid in the band. It wasn't like a downtime in between, was it?
No, it's 2009. He just came back.
Okay. So track number 1, sir. We got a song called Jekyll Island.
Yeah, I think it's a good opening song. I don't think it's anything spectacular. But when someone mentions Sons of Liberty, this is weird. As I say, it's not really a spectacular song, but when someone mentions to me Sons of Liberty, this is the song that I think of. Which is weird because I think it's not anything special. I do like. I think the chorus is big. And I'm just going to say this now because I'm going to repeat myself, but Jon on vocals is the highlight for this whole record for me. I think he's supremely good on this album. I really like his vocals across this whole record, and I think this song's really good.
It's funny you say that because I'm doing my notes and I'm thinking, I wish that Jon Stormwritered every album, like have 9 songs by Stu, and then 1 special song for Jon. Every album. I don't think that's too much to ask.
He done it on the Purgatory EP. He done Jack.
That's true,
and that's fantastic.
He did it on the
Gift or a Curse.
Tribute to the Gods too. So I mean, I wish it was more constant, but this is a nice touch. I kind of like the train intro and the acoustic intro. I think it's got a great riff. You mentioned the great chorus. It's catchy. Like I found myself singing it to myself at work several times this week. Great, like you said. I think a lot of people think of that when they think of that of the Sons of Liberty project. I think it's a great opener.
Yeah, I just think of the chorus, the creature from Jekyll Island. I just think of that. That's the first thing I think of when I think of Sons of Liberty.
And when I hear that, I think Jon's vocals are really good. Like you hear the background, you hear bits and pieces, but you're like, he could easily front a band.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like he goes a lot of this album. He goes with that kind of snarly, kind of lower vocal through a lot of it. But it's when he hits those kind of more higher registers, it blows me away. Like how good he is. I'm just like, the guy can sing. Like he's really good. Like I'm really like, just like this album just sells. I don't think of with this album. I don't think of Jon Schaffer the rhythm guitarist. I think Jon Schaffer the singer because he can really sing on this album.
Oh, I agree. Track 2 of 9 is "Don't Tread on Me." I think that's a good, straightforward rocker. I think Jon's vocal. Again, you're going to hear this broken record. Jon's vocals makes that song great. It's not a spectacular song. It's a good, straightforward rocker that I enjoy. That's my thoughts on that one.
Chuck, I fucking love this song. I think it's one of the best songs Jon has ever written.
Wow.
Solely because of how simple it is. It's got a simple melodies to it. The chorus is fucking so catchy, just singable, so singable. Like, usually I would just skip Jekyll and put that on as the first track because I love it so much. Like, it's just like so singable. Schaffer's just got this classic Schaffer with these like lead guitar melodies in there, and like I said, the song just works 100% because of its simplicity. And sometimes you need that in heavy metal, and this song is like just 100% just a fantastic heavy metal song. I love it. I love this song, Chuck. I love it. It's great. It's fantastic.
Nice. That brings us to track 3, "False Flag."
I got a bit of a controversial opinion on this.
Okay.
I think this song could sit comfortably can't say that word properly. It could sit really nicely on Plagues of Babylon. It's got that vibe for me. I think Jon's delivery. He delivers the vocals with such just. I don't want to say spite. That's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like he means every fucking word. You know, like, yeah. I'm surprised it didn't get a Stu Block cover on Plagues, because this gets a super Plagues of Babylon vibe from me, and I like all the riffs on it as well. It's a really good one. It's a good one. It's a heavy one.
My notes on this song is good heavy song. I like the riffs. I just like the progression of the song. That's what I wrote. Just, a good song. That brings us to Our Dying Republic. And it's funny that you said that about Plagues. My notes for this one is I think this is the best Jon vocals on the album. And I love the catchy background vocals in it. And it reminds me of that it should be on Horror Show. Like it's got, like it could fit into that. And like I said, or I put a note here that it made me think of Matt a lot, like almost like and I'm sure he wasn't trying to do this. I feel like Jim Morris said, "Sing it like Matt." Do you get that kind of? It reminded me of something that Matt would sing. Like I said, I'm sure he was in no way trying to sound like Matt. He wouldn't never do that. But it reminded me of a Horror Show, and I was like, and I was mad at myself, like, man, how am I not playing this song a lot more? So I really enjoyed this one. This one was one that would really made me scratch my head, like, wow, how did I miss that one? So I loved it. What's your take on it?
I do love this one. Our kind of thought process is not exactly the same, but they're similar. So you said Horror Show, and you also said, "Oh, sing it like Matt." This song just gives me, especially the opening guitar, is just watching over me. It sounds like watching over me, that guitar at the beginning, and it's got that whole kind of ballady, kind of like sadness to it overall. It just watching over me, singing it like Matt. Yeah, watching over me. I get that vibe from it. Totally. Yeah, like, I agree. Probably the best that Jon sounds vocally on the record. Like, he really feels very. I don't want to say like Matt, because Matt's a master, but you really feel like the soulfulness of Jon's vocals on this one, and I really like it. And I think Jon's vocals layered sound amazing. When you get the parts before the chorus where it's all layered in, it sounds really good.
Now, did Jim produce this one also? He probably did.
I don't know. My history on this album is not the best.
I think he probably did. Morris probably does everything that Jon touches, so Morris knows what he's doing. So that brings us to our Indentured Servitude. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, like I was saying about Don't Tread on Me, this song is also wonderfully simple. I think it's got really awesome melodies on it. Again, Jon is excellent on vocals, and I just think it's super melodic, and it's just a really good one. Like, so far so good. I haven't got a bad thing to say about this record. Yeah, this is another good one.
My comments on this one is it's a great track. To me, it had kind of like an 80s vibe, not like a hair. I don't know. It was just felt like just a great track. It felt good, and my big quote on here was "Holy dystopia." To me, it's, if you listen to it, it sounds like it could be put right in at like track 4 or 5 at Dystopia. To me, that's what it sounds like. I totally listened to it. I'm like, that sounds so Dystopia. And I did make a note that I thought the speech in the beginning was too long. I think that might deter some people. Have a couple seconds. Like the Churchill speech for Maiden or something. 10 seconds. I think it went on too long. The speech. I mean, not that it takes away from the song, I just found myself sitting there like, okay.
It's funny because you mentioned all the speech at the beginning. I've totally forgotten what that was. Like, so I'm like, was there a speech at the beginning? I forgot it already.
Yeah, I forget what it was even about. As there's
one
political people that just want to shake my neck right now.
I know I'm jumping back, but I did forget to mention I quite like the whole place thing at the end of Don't Tread on Me. Like, if you do not disperse, we will use whatever. You have to leave the immediate vicinity. If you do not, or something, I forget what they say, but it's like over a megaphone. And it's got this weird kind of like distorted sound. Right. I quite liked that. That was interesting. But yeah,
I really enjoyed the track a lot. To me, it's starting to get to. I mean, this album flows a lot better than I remember it.
Yeah,
like definitely. I said, if you're listening to this and you don't have this album, you need to Spotify it, buy it, give it a chance. And don't just listen to, give it a good solid weekend. I think you'll like it. Tree of Liberty. I'll take it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, my friend.
I was going to say, I think pound for pound, this is probably my favourite song after Don't Tread on Me. Yeah, I think, it's just packed full. I do mean packed full of melodies. It's got a lot of meaning. I feel Jon really sings it with fucking vitriol and meaning and a lot of purpose. And I love the riffs in it. It's just a catchy one. Like, the chorus is quite catchy as well. I really like it. Yeah, it's really good. It's one of the better songs on the record.
I think it's got a great opening to it. I think the riffs are great on it. There's a part where and I love the drums on this, where the guitar and drums kind of trade off. Now I know it's a drum machine, which doesn't take it away. To me, I'm listening to it and I'm like, man, that sounds like a Queensryche song that I've never heard before. So I really dug it. Tree of Liberty is a good, solid track. Feeling Hopeless. How does that make you feel?
For me, this is probably, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's probably my weakest on the album for me. I still think Jon's great vocally on it. Again, like throughout the whole record. The one thing that bugs me about this song, is that you got this really nice kind of build. For some reason, the chorus just falls flat for me. It's not as big as it should be. It should be bigger. And for some reason, it doesn't hit those heights for me to really grab something. So that kind of deflates the song. So that's why it's probably like the weakest song on the album for me.
My notes on this one, I was listening to it when I took my notes yesterday, and I listened to it, and I wrote nothing. And I had to go back again. I was like, I must have missed that one. I must have been I listened to it a second time, and it's just a stock song. There was nothing memorable about it. Like, if you asked me to hum, I listened to it 3 times in a row, and then I hit pause and I said, hum it, dude, and I had nothing. It's just I felt no connection. I mean, which you're not gonna like every song that anybody sings.
Yeah.
No perfect band. It's a stock song, and I have nothing for it. So I was feeling kind of hopeless listening to it, to be honest. So, just being honest.
Yeah.
So, the next song, Jason, I'll let you go first on that one because I got a lot to say about it. The Cleansing Wind.
Cleansing Winds. To me, this is all I've got to say about this song, because I feel this underpins exactly what I feel about it. This song, to me, proves when it comes to ballads, Jon Schaffer is a master at it, and he's such an underrated singer and songwriter when it comes to really kind of heartfelt, ballady kind of songs. And this song is one of them. It's one up there with some of the best ballads he's written. It's great. It's really good.
Right. Well, I've been
If you
talking to my.
if you want to
Go
call
ahead.
it a ballad, because to me it's a ballad. I don't know about you.
I was talking to my buddy Chris on Facebook Messenger, and I was telling him I'm deep diving this album, and he's like, he kept telling me about the cleansing wind, and I was like, okay, I'll pay attention to it. He nailed it. It's my favorite track of the album.
Cool.
I love the acoustic intro. I love John's vocals on it. To me, it reminded me of like the clouding, how it kind of went along, and you just knew it was going to get heavier as it went.
Yeah.
And John knows how to write a song. I mean, this is the total opposite of feeling hopeless. To me, he perfected this one, and it made me think of Spirit of Times, and I was like, I would love to have Stu sing this. Like, and that's nothing against John. I'd love to hear Stu on it, because I think Stu took Spirit of Times to a different place, and this would totally be a hit on an Iced Earth album. So this is my favorite track of the album. I totally love it. To me, it reminds me of the clouding, and not that, like I said, not that John doesn't sing it great. I'd love to hear it on an Iced Earth album. So, We the People, sir, the last track of this 9-track LP.
I've got one word. It's not all what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to open my discussion with one word.
Okay.
Powerful. This is powerful, man. To close an album on this they chose good on closing on this one. I think it's really powerful. It's got kind of this like charging riff in it that it's kind of almost like, like you said, like, oh yeah, people that go and march with the Sons of Liberty flags. It kind of gives me this kind of like they're marching forwards to beat oppression. It kind of gave me a tragedy and triumph vibe from Dystopia. It gave that kind of like, there's hope, there's loads of us, we can break through these barriers kind of thing, and that's what this song says to me. And I think it's a great closer for a pretty decent album. And the chorus,
I agree.
And the chorus is big and catchy as well, so that always helps, right?
I think it's got a great riff. It's got kind of an old school Iced Earth feel to it. I really enjoyed the track. I think it was, like you said, I think that and Jekyll are good bookends to what is a very underrated album. I mean, there's easily 3-4 songs that I've just added to a pretty powerful list of songs that are going to be in my rotation, and that's pretty awesome. There's some really good tracks on here. Overall, like I said, I don't think I'm going to, like, as great as this is and as great as Demons are, I'm never going to say, man, I wish John would put Iced Earth away for a couple years and write the best Sons of Liberty album. I'm never going to say that. So I like the album, but like it gets classified under Demons and Wizards. I like it, but I want Iced. What are your thoughts?
I'm the same way. Although when it comes into conclusion of this album, I think this album to me just proves when John's passionate about something, he really just puts all in. We've seen it with stuff like The Glorious Burden, when the band was reinvigorated with Dystopia. You got that passion again, especially in that kind of period where we weren't sure about Iced Earth. But yeah, I just think when John's passionate about something, he's all or nothing, and yeah, I think this album proves that. I think when he's got a purpose and a message to tell, he really goes all in, and it's just I think he makes his best music that way.
Well, I also love his attitude about his music. I've heard many interviews over the years where people think that I sold out because I wrote an album like Dark Saga, and it's like, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And I'm sure he felt that way when this came out in 2010, and he feels that way right now. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. I love his honest approach to that. I don't think that he loses any sleep over anybody's thoughts on that. It's for him. He makes it for himself, and he hopes that you like it.
This is a very, very, very strong album, I think, and I think more people should give it a chance.
Before we do our final thoughts, this is one where we've got a lot. This one had a lot of comments. So, our good friend Jeff Budd said, while the topics may not be still a current subject matter, the album has not aged well and seems like a relic. With no follow-up except for the digital-only EP, which we're going to talk about that before we close out, to further Jon's exploration and explanation on liberty, freedom, its economy, its loss, its relevance. It's odd, really. Usually music is about the music. This time around, though, it's all about the message and the message only. So he didn't love it. Adam Ortiz says, it's been a while since I've listened to it, but I remember really enjoying it. There's live footage, and it just looks weird seeing Jon on stage without a guitar. I didn't know that he did live stuff without a guitar.
That's interesting, nice.
I'm going to have to look for that, Adam.
So who plays guitar live?
See, I don't know whether Troy was part of that band or whether he had some stock musicians. I almost said nobodies, but I mean, anybody playing with Jon is not a nobody. Benjamin Eric Schuster says, I'll be looking forward to it. My Australian buddy Aaron Phillips says, I really dug this album. I didn't look at it with any cynicism, patriotism, nationalism, or any other word that ends with ism. It's always about the music for me. The messages in the music is always secondary to the music itself. And I thoroughly enjoyed the Sons of Liberty album as a stopgap solo album. Well said. Dan Random with a random here we are with a random comment. I remember seeing Iced Earth at Hammerfest in 2010, and I bumped into Jon in the bar after the show. He bought me a beer. That's cool. I still have the plastic glass. I probably would too. And talked with him for over an hour about the Sons of Liberty project. His passion on it was intense. Even in a pretty drunken state, I could sense how much he meant it. Was he drunk or was Jon? Lou Sass, one of my favorite things Jon's ever done, is largely responsible for waking me up politically, even though I was on the path already, just didn't exactly have an outlet for it. So there's one person that Jon affected, that made him more politically. John Baylor, amazing debut, and been listening to the epic gem of traditional metal. No weak tracks. Jon Schaffer blew me with the lyrics and songwriting. I have a few of the songs as my ringtones and texts.
The punctuation is very important, people, because you might get out of context. It might be read out of context. Anyway,
I'm hating that I'm gonna just rape this name. Dismal. There's a nice gentleman says, I'm extremely proud to have been a part of it, and he actually helped with the artwork on there. I know you commented on it, and I've actually talked to him. He says he still keeps in contact with Jon and their buddies now. So sorry, next time I talk to him, I'm going to talk to him about the pronunciation of that, so I don't do that again. Brandon Connick, awesome traditional heavy metal album. Phil Gentry, best thing he's put out in the last 11 years, in my opinion. Chris Knotts says, our buddy says, I've been waiting for this episode. It's going to be great. Sean McConnell, the promo king. He has every promo ever. Great tunes. Would love for it to be released on plastic circles. Well, Sean, that's coming. I remember when it came out, I must have listened to the damn thing for 2 weeks straight. We're going to talk about the vinyl in a minute, Sean. Remy Davignon, simply awesome. I love this album. The message of the project of John needs to be heard by all on the planet. Musically awesome too. Christopher Ellison says, probably the worst stuff John has ever recorded. Never liked politics and music. Gets too preachy for me. So we're getting all across the board here. Lynn's Brow says, great album. I listen to it regularly. Just a couple more here. Charlie Espinoza says, I absolutely love the release and the Spirit of Times EP also. Such immense and passionate music and deep message, beautifully put either directly in your face or through different metaphors and symbolism. The world needs absolutely more Sons of Liberty material, opposite of what I just said. I credit this project with being the first to red pill me to some of the agendas that are out there and the countdown dumbing people. So that's a pretty political message there in itself. Richard Clark said it was a good album at the time. I thought it was better produced and better written than the two Something Wicked albums. Then again, I listened to those albums to this day, and I can't remember the last time I heard Brushfires. Certainly not a bad album. So I think he falls into that same category as us. You know, it's not bad. I just choose to listen to Something Wicked or Dystopia over it. Chris Latta says, I haven't listened to it much lately, but lately it was refreshing at the same time in light of Something Wicked Twins. Everything it does, Dystopia does better. That's actually a very good statement. Dystopia was a home run. And the last one here, last two, John Meek, I really like the album. They should have used a real drummer, though. And Scott Devani said, really good album and would love to get a follow-up at some point. Okay. So a lot of people were very vocal on this one. We had a lot of feedback on this one, which I love. So if you want to be a part of our feedback, make sure you join our Facebook community. Same name. Go to Facebook and look up Podcast and Stone. Now, to the round circles, months back, probably 6 or 8 months ago, John was talking about how he does have the rights to the Sons of Liberty songs. So he mentioned that it was going to be released on like a double album and would also include the EP on there and maybe an extra song or two. So that's an album I'd love to have on vinyl. Are you surprised that the EP wasn't put to physical media? I wonder what the thought process was.
Maybe, I don't know, because I don't know, because I'm sure nearly everything that John's put out has had a physical release, right?
Yeah, that's the only
everything, right?
That's the only non-physical release, and I don't know what year that came out. I wonder if I don't know. You'd think that he would want a physical release. Anyway, but it'll be nice when that finally sees the light, maybe with 2020, once the businesses start get going again. I hope maybe that'll be one of the things he discusses this week in his Q&A. That's definitely a re-release that kind of new. So I'm excited about that one.
I think if they do release it, I don't know whether John would go to the trouble to get someone like Mark Prater or Brent to like re-record the drums for it to give it a bit more of a human vibe, give it a bit more humanity. I don't know, but I think fresh drums on that with a real drummer and maybe a new mix and master would do it wonders. I think.
Now, see, maybe because I'm not a musician, if you would have told me that was or if you were expecting me to tell you that was a drum machine, I didn't hear it. like I said, I'm sure there's musicians out there that's like, yeah, I knew it right away. I didn't catch it. So that, I think it's fine as is. Throw the EP on there as is, and then if you want to throw a track on there, that's fine. I'd like to see it on vinyl release.
Let's do some fan booking for a minute, right?
Fan booking, I love doing that these days.
Yeah. So we know for a fact if they get the re-release, it's going to be about 50 million thousand fucking colours. What colours would you like to see this album
on? I think they should just do it in three different colors, and that's red, white, and blue. And I don't blame John on that. That's a trend that's going everywhere now, and it might even get worse now with bands losing who knows how many months of touring it's going to be when it's all said and done. I have Kiss concert tickets in September that, it's April right now, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to go.
Yeah. They're over here, they're looking at, the government's looking at extending our lockdown until May 18th. So we got another month to go at least.
Yeah, it's a frustrating time because it seems like with everything else, if you had a saying, well, due to whatever, this is going to be closed for 30 days. You knew that in 30 days, but at first it was 2 weeks, and now it's a week and a month. And and I have vacation plans for a campsite in May that I don't know whether I'm going to be able to go to. It's the unknown, and I hate for all the people in the music industry because there's so much money being lost right now, and I am just itching. If there was a country music concert in my town tonight, I'd go. That's how much I miss live music. I just want to go out there and listen to music, and it's killing me that I can't.
I think it's somewhat ironic and somewhat poetic that we're reviewing this album, which is very charged about, is very much about politics and freedom, and here we are in the most uncertain time for for society and for humanity, where our freedoms are kind of challenged right now. I just think that's quite ironic. I just think it's really poetic that we're reviewing this album that kind of challenges, that kind of stuff. I think there's
stuff that the government's doing very right, and there's stuff that I would do differently. I hate that record stores. I'm so have a personal. I don't want record stores to go away, and I don't see no reason why my favorite record store down the street can't open and then keep people away. I think that the government's just killing people like that, and I hate it. To me, there's nothing you could tell me that there's no reason why a record store can't be open and limited to 5 people at a time. That's just me, But whatever.
Literally, nothing's open. Only food places and supermarkets.
But I don't want to get into that stuff. But
yeah,
overall, I really enjoy the album. Like I said, there's a few tracks here that I'm going to put into more of my daily routines. John sounds great. Moving forward, I'd like to see him do a track or two down the road on Iced Earth albums. His vocals are very good, but unfortunately this falls in with Demons and Wizards and have you ever listened to I know we bring up Maiden from time to time. Have you ever listened to British Lion?
No.
I mean, it could be wonderful, but I want Maiden. And it's different, but it's the same. He could be writing an album right now that's awesome, but I'm always going to want Iced Earth over any of this. So I really enjoy it. But, I'm ready for some Iced. I've fantasy booked the shit out of some Iced Earth right now. I want some re-releases. I want some live. I want some re-recordings, and I want a live album all out by May 1st.
To be honest with you, mate, like, out of everything, I want Stucifer back, man. Like,
yeah, Stu.
He must be itching for it, man. He must be fucking. He can't. I bet he can't. He can't wait, man, to jump back on.
I wish Stu was in Indianapolis right now, re-recording Storm Rider and new tracks, or do horror show and put on Phantom of the Opera Ghost Part 2. There's all kinds of shit that could be done, but this was a fun episode. I really enjoyed this, and we did a recent Facebook poll, and Pyromaze is killing it. So starting tonight, I'm going to start deep diving into Pyromaze.
I've got the picture disc, so that's going to be fun. Going to spin that.
Yes. Sadly, is Immortals? Is that what it's called?
Immortal, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start diving into that. So do your homework and listen to Pyromaze. I need to ask Matt again. I forget.
It's Pyromaze.
Pyromaze, like pyramid. Okay, yeah. So Pyromaze. So we're going to get into that one soon. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, really good album. Jon needs to sing more. Like, he's great on this, and I think he's quite a unique vocal as well. He's got very unique. I don't think anyone else sounds like Jon Schaffer on vocals.
Yeah, so it's by no means do you hear it and think, that's just a guitar player trying to fill in for a lead singer. He's really good, but that's happened many times. There's so many great musicians right now that are just buried because you don't get to hear their vocals. I mean, I've heard of countless. Phil Collins was one for Genesis. The guy left, and they're like, Phil's good. Why do we need it? I mean, Luke Appleton is great. His vocals are incredible, and you're not going to hear him on a nicer. There's so many great musicians that aren't lead singers that can sing outstanding, and he's one of them. And he just happens to be the greatest songwriter in the world and the leader of the best band in the world, so he doesn't get to sing.
I play drums to hide my bad singing. So, whenever my band go to me, Jay, do you want to do backing vocals? Nope. No, thank you.
But yeah, I'm really glad I deep dived it. I got some new tracks out of it, and that's it. It was good doing this one pretty close to the last one, so I look forward to Pyromaze with you, buddy.
Yeah, that should be a fun one, man. The GOAT, Matt Barlow. Should be a good one.
It's coming out tonight, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We have been Podcasting Stone. This is the first episode without my beard. Let alone tear. Deep regret, Chuck, in that regard.
You look like a fine young man, sir.
I look about 12, so, Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I've been Jason No Beard. I have been joined, as always, with the incomparable Chuck Hoskin. He also has no beard. But anyway, hit that like button, / subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified for more podcast episodes from us, and spread it around. Share it with your friends and your dog. Your dog I think your dog might be a really, really big Iced Earth fan, so share it to your dog, your cat as well. The cat might love Iced Earth. I know Chuck's cats are very big Suplock fans, so that's all good. So do that. Join us on Facebook. Until then, stay metal, because metal lives, my friends. Stay safe out there, guys, and we will see you later.